You know, you need both. You can't just have one or the other. But
Well, a great team.
no, it's really, you have a great governor, really great governor in Iowa. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kim.
Yep.
John, go ahead.
Mr. President, I was actually speaking with the governor about this before she came to see you. There's a backlog in terms of live animals, hogs, and beef on the hoof out there. How soon will it be before that can get processed? And we are seeing some shortages in meats in many places across the country. How long will it be before the supply chain gets ramped back up again so that we don't have these shortages?
Plenty of supply. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. We're moving in that direction. As the Secretary said, you've got to think South Dakota's coming back on board. We'll have most of our facilities up and going. And so as we continue to keep them up and processing and bring more back online and continue to exceed the capacity, we're going to hopefully prevent what could have been a really sorry situation where we were euthanizing some of our protein supply and really impacting the food supply, not only across the country, but throughout the world. And so this is critical infrastructure. It's an essential workforce, and the team and the effort and the executive order, I think, has really maybe prevented what could have been a really serious situation. And so I think, Secretary, would you agree with that? We're still monitoring it. We've turned a corner.
I think we've turned the corner.
Yep.
We see these plants coming back online. Obviously, because of some infected employees, they won't be full force for a while, but we think the stores will be, you'll see more variety and more meat cases fully supplied.
What's your
very
timing?
soon.
What's your timing, son?
I'd say probably a week to 10 days
Yeah,
where
I
it's
agree.
fully back up.
Yeah,
Fully back up.
yeah. I mean, Perry came back up at
That'll be great.
60% capacity, which is really, that's
Yeah.
a strong startup.
Mr. President, what the governor's made clear is that it was because the president used the Defense Production Act.
Yeah.
Make it clear that our objective is to keep meat processing plants open, whether it be in Iowa, whether it be in Delaware, whether it be in Colorado, and working through the Department of Agriculture, deploying CDC personnel to these meat processing plants. We're doing that. And I think, Mr. President, and you talk to a great heartland governor like Governor Kim Reynolds, one of the great stories of the coronavirus outbreak has been that our food supply has continued to work every day, from the field to the fork, to the grocers, to the meat processors. And thanks to the president's decision to use the Defense Production Act, we now have uniformity, and the objective is to work every day to keep those meat processing plants open, and the ones that were coming down are going back online.
Yep.
While we're trying to keep the workers safe and healthy along with these
And
guidelines.
it's in tandem. We've done that. And so with the testing, with the PPE, with the restructuring in the facilities, they're also doing a lot of that as well, to try to social distance where they can, to put in shields where they can, to look at the lines, to separate the shifts. So, I mean, it's a partnership, really.
Kim, I think we had a great talk with the owners of the plants, the top people, big people. These are big companies, actually. You wouldn't believe how many plants they have. And I think it was a very strong talk, and I think they got the message. So within a week and a half, we should be in great shape, maybe sooner.
Another piece of it is, as the price for animals on the hoof has gone down, the price of box beef has really skyrocketed, and there's a huge price differential disparity there. Farmers are really hurting, whereas these meatpacking plants are making a lot of money. Is there something that the federal government can do? Farmers are
I've asked
asking
the Justice Department to look into it, okay? I've asked them to take a very serious look into it, because it shouldn't be happening that way, and we want to protect our farmers. But they're looking into that very strongly.
What exactly, sir?
I said I've asked the Justice Department to look into it.
To look into
Well, whatever.
the
Why is
disparities.
there this disparity? What's going on? Are they dealing with each other? What's going on? Okay? Because it shouldn't be that way. Supply and demand should not allow that to happen by normal supply and demand. Okay? Thank you, John. Any other questions?
Are enough steps being taken to protect these workers?
again?
Or are enough steps being taken to protect the health and safety of these workers? The advocates for these workers say they're not being protected. I mean, what was it, 60% infected at the Perry plant, right? I mean, that's extraordinary.
What we've looked at in each of these plants is when we have an outbreak, the CDC deploys a team on the ground. We also worked with the governor and other governors around the country to deploy personal protective equipment to allow the workforce to safely return once testing is done. In most of these meat processing plants, we end up testing everyone in the facility, and the people that are healthy are able to return with new countermeasures and new protection, new face masks or gloves, as the case may be. And we're also working with the companies to put new countermeasures into place. But as the Secretary said, Our objective is two equal goals. Number one is the safety and health of the workforce in our meat processing plants, and to ensure the strength of the food supply by getting people back to work and keeping the plants open.
Kim?
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. As I said, I was on a call with most of them yesterday. Thank you for the conference call that you did, I think, this week, last week, with our producers and governors across the country, specifically addressing this processing issue. So I appreciate that very much, Mr. Vice President. Just to ask if they were having any trouble getting the PPE, that no, they were fine. We are seeing the supply chain open up. Appreciate what the administration has done to make sure that they have the adequate PPE to protect their employees. You know, this is their teammates. This is an essential workforce. They know how important it is to take care of their workforce. And a big part of it was providing them the confidence to go back into the facility knowing that they'd either tested positive and they'd recovered, or they were on a shift with other employees that had tested negative. And we'll continue to work with them. We've made it very clear if they want to do additional testing, we'll be happy to do that. But they are testing them before they enter the plant. They're doing a temperature scan. They're doing an assessment. They have to have the mask on when they enter the facility. Many times they have the mask and the face shield. They're doing social distancing. They're relaxing their
And they feel
attendance
much better,
policy.
don't they?
And they feel better, yeah. So, you know, it's a partnership. We're all working together to make sure that we're providing them the confidence of a safe environment, but at the same time, we're making sure that the food supply chain is moving and that the country is being fed, and we're
Will they
continuing.
be moving the plexiglass partitions?
So
a
they
little
are, it's a
further?
fairly close working arrangement, and so they are trying to separate, I think, with some additional space between the workforce. So I know it's some of the things that they're looking at, but they do where they can. They put some of the shields,
Yeah.
petitions in place, yeah.
Mr. President, follow up on the task force. What will Dr. Fauci's role be in the task force
Same
going
as it
forward?
is, yeah.
Okay.
He's been doing a very good job. We're very happy with Dr. Fauci, and he'll be doing the same, and Deborah will be doing the same. I know you'll be staying. I hope you'll be staying. We'd miss you otherwise. She's done a fantastic job. Both. No, it's the same thing. We're actually just adding some names. We may take off a couple that, frankly, you know, their expertise really no longer applies. But I think, Mike, you'll announce your names Monday, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Or sooner?
Mr. President?
Good names, and now we have
A new one.
a very distinguished person who really knows her
A
business.
follow-up on beef. Apparently Wendy's has a shortage.
I'll have to call Nelson Peltz. I'm going to call Nelson Peltz. They're going to be okay. They'll be all
They're
right.
focusing on-
Basically, you're saying in a week and a half, you think everything's going to be good, or sooner.
Yes,
Right, would you make sure, please?
As we speak,
Yeah.
this week, first of next week.
And you're going to have to push them,
Yeah. And they're ramping up capacity, so.
Okay?
Mr. President, you said earlier that when you were talking about winding down the task force, you've heard from a lot of respected people who wanted you to keep it open.
respect it.
Who were some of those?
Well, I'd rather not say, because some of them aren't going to be able to make it. People want to be on the task. They want to be on everything. You know, I've never seen anything like this. Anything having to do with this, they want to help.
Yeah.
The biggest people, they want to be on. They want to be on the committees. They want to be on the financial committee or the sports committee. I've heard. That's all I do. I get calls from people, the biggest people, they all want to be on. Enemies of mine, people that don't like me, want to be on the committees. I said, that's strange, but they all want to do and they all want to help. So we're going to be announcing some very good names. Now, in this case, you know, we want professional names that can help us, not just names where we put it on for the status of the task force. We don't need status. We need results.
Mr. President, last week when you were in the East Room, I asked you about intelligence regarding the source of the virus. You suggested that you had seen some intelligence that gave you some confidence that it somehow emanated from the Institute of Virology. The Secretary of State on Sunday said the same thing. Where are you now on that issue?
No different. No
Have
different.
you seen anything else? that gives
No,
you
and I don't think there'll be a big difference. If you ask me that question in 2 months, I don't think there'll be a big difference. I think we know, and I think you probably know too. Okay, any other questions?
Just one follow-up on China, sir. Related to intelligence, but more specifically to how you will respond to China. You've talked about tariffs. Would you like to put tariffs on China as a punishment, or would it be more related to China not actually?
I don't want to talk about that now.
Okay.
We're in the midst of some very big things, so I just don't want to talk about that now.
Are you satisfied with China in terms of how it's fulfilling the trade deal, the phase one?
I will be able to report on that the end of next week. They're buying a lot of farm product, but are they buying to the level that they were supposed to? You know, they were going to buy $50 billion worth. The most they ever did was 15 or 16, and now they're going to 50. Anywhere between 40 and 50 in terms of farm, but 250 billion overall. That never happened. No president has ever even talked about anything like that. It's about time. But I'll be able to report in about a week or two as to not only with the farmers, but with many other industries also.
We'll
Okay?
have some updated ag numbers on this Friday.
Okay, good. I'd like to have that. I'll report them as they come in. But we're watching closely, and, you know, they understand. They have a deal, and hopefully they're going to keep the deal. We'll see. They may not. We're going to find out. We'll know soon.
On the ventilators that you say you're giving to other countries,
Yeah.
how do you decide to get them? Do they have to return them?
Well, we have thousands of ventilators right now under development and already in storage, as you know. We're stockpiling. We have over 10,000. We've sent them to states. The states are all, you have plenty of ventilators, right? Did
Yeah.
you ever think that was possible?
No.
They never wrote a story about it, Kim.
No.
And that's a tough one.
We're at 80 to 85%
That's not like a
availability.
swab. That's not like a swab, that's a piece of cotton. This is a big deal doing a ventilator. So countries know that we have tremendous tremendous volume, and they've been calling. Nigeria just called. We're giving them 250 ventilators. We have many countries, I'd say 12, 14 countries are called. We're sending quite a few to France. We're sending quite a few to Spain and Italy. And we have other countries. We have 4 African countries located in Africa, who are really in bad shape, frankly, very bad shape. And we're sending them quite a few. So we're in a position where we can now help other people. Because basically, what are you talking about? You're talking about people dying. You know, it's not a question of countries. You're talking about a lot of people are dying. And we make a great ventilator, as you people found out. Your people actually told me. The ventilator, you know, there are good ventilators and not so good. We go top of the line. We're making all top of the line. So we're sending them to a lot of countries as they need them, and they call.
And are those donations, will they have to be returned?
So we're working on that, and in a certain way, I like them to be donations. I really do. I think it's goodwill. It's hard to say you have to pay us in order to save people from dying. And I'm the first one to say you got to pay, but, you know, this is something that's a little bit different. I think it's something they really appreciate more than normally, like, you know, you're doing some trade for some linen or whatever it is. A ventilator will save lives. And they are really, some of these countries have none. Larry Kudlow knows. I mean, you know the kind of calls we've been getting. They're like desperation calls because you can't make them. It takes you months and months to get them set. We did it in weeks. The people did an incredible job. I was very proud of them. There's not been something like this since World War II, you know, especially that because it's a big piece of equipment, very expensive, and very complex. You know, it's a very highly complex piece. The air has to flow at a certain level. You know, everything is, it's a very, very complex piece of equipment. So it's a good question, but we have many countries calling, and we're helping as many as we can.
Sir, when you said a little while ago here that this was a worse attack than Pearl Harbor and 9/11, are you suggesting that COVID-19 is an actual act of war?
I view it as I view the invisible enemy as a war. I don't like how it got here because it could have been stopped. But no, I view the invisible enemy like a war. Hey, it's killed more people than Pearl Harbor, and it's killed more people than the World Trade Center. World Trade Center was close to 3,000. Well, we're going to beat that by many times, unfortunately. So, yeah, we view it as a war. This is a mobilization against a war. It's, in many ways, it's a tougher enemy. You know, we do very well against the visible enemies. It's the invisible enemy. This is an invisible enemy. So, but we're doing a good job.
What's your assessment, Mr. President, of the volunteer program that Jared Kushner put in place to ramp up PPE? And did it, as has been charged in a couple of news articles, favor people with political connections to you?
So I just heard that. I can only say this. These were young, brilliant people that were brought in because they have great expertise in this. People that love the country, people that I don't think were paid anything. In fact, some of them were very rich people where they were able to sell their company. I mean, some people would say nerds, okay? This is what they do. And I think they helped us a lot on ventilators. I wasn't involved in that, but I think they helped us a lot. You know, to them, they can look at a ventilator and it's a very simple machine. Somebody else looks at it, they have no clue. I think they did an incredible job. Now, I don't know anything about any of the details of it, but it was a well-oiled machine. They were able to get things that nobody else was able to get. They got good pricing. Pricing, by the way, was not the most important element, but pricing was still, you know, pricing's pricing. But we were able to get gowns and gloves and masks and all these things at a very early point. Now we're making a lot of it. You saw it yesterday where we're making masks at Honeywell. But I will say, Deborah, you saw it too. I mean, the level of ramp up that we did so quickly. So I would say they did. I wasn't involved in the details, but I can tell you it started flowing. That was with the planes pouring in from all over the place.
And did the program in any way favor suppliers who had political connections?
Well, I don't even know that because I have no idea who bought. I wasn't involved in that. We have a lot of support in our campaign. A lot of people are supporting our campaign. They want to see us win very badly. So I don't know, do they have companies? Do they not have companies? I can tell you I don't believe these kids would have any knowledge of any of these companies. And, you know, like I had seen this Dr. Bright. I never met Dr. Bright. I don't know who he is. I didn't hear good things about him. I did not hear good things about him at all. And to me, he seems like a disgruntled employee that's trying to help the Democrats win an election by getting out. I mean, he's got a pre-taped sermon about, you know, what he thinks. And I can tell you, they didn't think he did a very particularly good job, as I understand it. Now, I just got this morning because I'm saying, who is this guy? But I never met him. I know nothing about him. But he's a disgruntled guy. And I don't think disgruntled people should be working for a certain administration. I mean, he certainly seemed to have a very well-packaged deal, and he's got the same lawyers that some other well-known people had, and he comes up with the whistleblower. I always thought whistleblower was sort of a secret thing. Well, everyone knows who he is, so why is it a whistleblower?
It's just not his protection. It doesn't care.
Well, protection from what? Protection from what? But everybody knows who he is because he was very public about it. And if you look at his lawyers are the same lawyers that other people have used. And so I don't know much about it, but to me he seems like a disgruntled employee.
Mr. President, about the figures right now, are you...
Which figures?
Figures, death toll figures in the United States,
Yeah.
over 70,000. Do you believe those figures?
Well, I think it is what it is. From you saying it's 70,000, it's approximately now 70,000. So do I believe them? Yeah.
You don't have
I don't
reason to
believe
cast
them for
doubt.
China,
Yeah.
and I don't believe them from other countries where I see, you know, a very tiny number of people died, but you're watching the news and you see what's going on. But our numbers are, you know, essentially certified numbers. They're individual hospitals. They're putting out the numbers. I don't imagine there'd be a very big variation. No, it's a big number, but it's also a number that's at the lower scale. I think, Deborah, you could say it's at the very lower scale of any number that was predicted. Because if you look at the predictions, I guess they said from 100 to 220,000, that's if we did the big shut-ins and if we went to the total shutdown. And now it's time to open up our country. Got to open up our country. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I would like to show you